Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, I think we're ready to go. We're recording. Today we have another piece of the puzzle because we heard about Fumio on your original podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Butch Brown again. And Fumio, how do you say your last name?
Ogoshi.
Ogoshi, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Fumio is a neighbor of mine. He lives really close, so that was kind of cool to find out.
Yeah, like 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
We go to the same park.
Right? Yeah, we do. We talked
Yeah.
about this special
Yeah.
park that's around here.
Yeah.
And there's some good fish there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Let me make sure this is recording. Yes. Okay. So this is a great podcast because there's a lot to this one. I have tons of questions. We're going to try to do a couple call-ins. Let's start with Butch because I guess if you listen to Butch's podcast, he talks about Fumio. So let's talk about when you guys met.
Go ahead, Foom.
Oh. We met. I had spent a lot of time shore fishing at the lagoon. This was back in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recently gotten married, and about the only time I could fish was like these wee hours, like 2 a.m. So I used to fish from like 2 a.m. to like 7 a.m. and 8 a.m.
The lagoon was open then?
Yeah, the lagoon is open, like shore fishing, like basically 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the what's that? The east shore. East side, yeah. So I was just fishing, and then just doing my thing, and then back then I was just fishing whatever. I wasn't a swim baiter or anything. And Butch just happened to come by. He was chasing a school of shad, and sometime in the summer he used to net shad, especially for these fishing sort of trips. They used to have, what was it, like fishing for kids and
Cast for
stuff?
kids.
Cast for
Oh,
kids.
so you would get the shad and have it for the kids.
Guaranteed, so they
Yeah.
can catch fish.
All right. Yeah.
So he was looking for shad, and he just came right in front of me, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I didn't know you were fishing there. Can I, net these shad?" And I'm like, I was thinking, "Wow, that's Butch Brown, But okay. I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead, that's fine." And so he came and he netted the shad and stuff, and then I didn't really talk to him for a while after that. Like I was just shore fishing. Our times didn't coincide, and then in 2008, I bought a boat.
Mm-hmm.
Boat I still use.
Which boat is that?
This is a Skeeter 180.
Did you get it from Anglers?
No, I bought it used.
Okay.
Yeah, from somebody in Buena Park. So it was
really?
a used
Right around
deal.
the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I bought that boat like near the end of 2008. And initially I wasn't taking it to Castaic, but I started fishing putting stone.
Yeah.
It's closer. I was new to boating. I didn't know anything about launching a boat. So just to practice, I took it to Pud, and I was fishing there.
Did you learn that lake pretty well?
Not really.
That's a hard lake.
Yeah, because I was there for just a really short time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started going back to the lagoon to fish there. I really wanted to fish there, And so that was 2008.
So in 2008, you could launch a Skeeter in the lagoon?
Yeah.
Electric motor only.
Yeah,
so you just go through a
motor
trolling
only.
motor and just
Yeah,
drive it.
exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can you still do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the only way you can be there.
Okay.
It's still like that. And then so I started fishing there, and I just sort of stayed away from Butch in the beginning. I didn't want to seem like, like
A fanboy.
Yeah.
Come up to you and ask you if they could take you.
Some offer $1,000 a day.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I
I've
guess,
seen
yeah.
that. And when we started fishing together, I'll be in Butch's truck, and people would come up and they would offer Butch $1,000, $1,500 to, hey, can you take me fishing?
Was this pre your big fish? What year did you catch the big fish?
Shoot, I forgot.
But this must have been after for sure.
Was it?
Yeah, probably after.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
after because this was like 2010.
Yeah.
Okay.
10-ish, And so
You had your boat.
yeah, so I had my boat, and then I was just doing my own thing, and I probably spent like a whole year just fishing and not bothering Butch, And then one day I was just at the end of the day I was just putting my stuff away in the parking lot, and then he came up to me and said, "Hey, I see you fishing out here. Are you catching any?" I'm like, well, yeah, a little bit, but not a whole lot. I had caught a few nice fish, but
Were you swim bait fishing at the time or not?
a little bit, but
Okay.
I wasn't really dedicated to it. I was doing everything. I was fishing, Senkos and drop shots and everything, crankbait. And I hadn't fished that much throughout my college and grad school years. So when I got back into it, like everything was new, everything was cool. I just wanted to do everything, you know? So that's what I was doing. And then we just started chatting in the parking lot, and then he was nice enough to rig me a HUD, you know, a couple
nice.
of them. You know? So I'm like, oh, geez, you know, I got put from rigged HUD, you know?
I know how you feel.
Yeah. And then after that, we started chatting a little more on the lake. And most of it was kind of like, hey, Fumi, how you doing? Like, no, not bad. I got a few. Like, how'd you do? Oh, I got a couple of small ones in the live well. You know, I'm like, oh, yeah. And like, can you take pictures? And I'm like, Butch Brown takes pictures of small fish? Well, that's kind of cool, you know, because I was taking pictures of, everything, you know. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then he opens up his live one. It's like a 10 and a 12 in there. I'm like, and that went on for a while, like where I was taking Butch's pictures left and right.
You know, like small fish, huh?
Yeah. And I'm like, you know, and I'm kind of struggling. The lagoon's a pretty difficult place to catch big ones, especially, you know, and consistently. It's pressure. It's, you know, it's a small place. So
it's offshore too.
Yeah.
How deep does it get in the lagoon?
Close to 70 feet.
Really? That's pretty deep.
Not too bad. You know, it was 70. It's probably about 65 now with the silt coming in and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, we got to know each other, and then, you know, we started fishing a little bit, you know. He showed me stuff, and like some days I would anchor my boat and hop on his boat, and we'd go fishing. And so that's how, you know, we started fishing, and we became friends. And I think we have like pretty similar sense of humor. We kind of have this sarcastic sense of humor, and we just got along really well. You know, our style of fishing, and once we started fishing, we were really focused, you know. And I was trying to learn as much as possible. You know, like, I'm fishing with Butch Brown. I'm going to learn, you know. And so I tried to learn as much as possible. But just personality-wise, we got along really well. So that's why we've been friends for so long. And
you know, got my biology teacher here, and I'm a drywaller. So, and then we're sitting there, and I go, yeah, it's my birthday. Then he looks over at me. It's my birthday too.
Yeah.
No way.
This was a couple days ago, right?
Well, yeah, we held up our licenses.
Yeah.
Same birthday.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Like, that's weird. It's crazy, isn't it? I'm like, no way. I thought he was kidding.
You guys are both 40 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he's my son.
Yeah, you know.
I still feel 40 though. But we'd go through the seasons when he first started with me.
Yeah.
And you know, he'd be in the back, and I remember one day I called him up and I said, hey, it's the end of the day. I said, Fumi, you see where I'm out offshore? I go, you need to come down here and put an ice jig on full speed.
No
I go,
way.
all the fish migrated from the back in the fall and got on this flat that no one really targets, and it was like 200 fish days. I mean, you'd had to leave. Your hands were just...
Would you fish him with an ice jig?
Yeah. Well, it was so fast.
Yeah.
You know, I would pick kids up off the shore and bring them out.
Just to get them bit.
And say, hey, this is what bass fishing's like.
Yeah.
And then they'd catch one, and they'd go, oh, that's my personal best. And then the other kid would catch one. Oh, that's my personal best. I go, well, throw them in the live well. And then they'd catch it. Oh, that's my personal best. And I go, stop. You guys can put your limit in the live well. We'll go in, and I'll take your picture. Then you got to cut them loose.
Yeah.
And those kids now one works at a tackle shop, and he's a successful fisherman.
Wow.
The other one moved to Texas, and he's a good fisherman. He wins a lot of float tube stuff there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's cool that you made an influence with the kids.
Try to help them out, you know, and it did good. I just lost my sound.
Did you?
There it went.
You got it?
Yeah.
You hear it?
Yeah.
All right, good.
And we'd go through the spinnerbait times, you know, because I make that spinnerbait.
Do you still make that a lot?
Oh, yeah. I gave out a lot of them on the last thing here. You know, I do 500 a year, and they're usually gone by the end of the year.
Are you bending those with a bender or your own?
No, I just get the preforms, and they're the 40 wire, and the wire cannot be the stiff, musky kind of wire. It has to be strong. It has to be twisted, because the big bass just straightens them right out.
Yeah.
And you still got to feel that blade throbbing down there, and it just gets them.
How heavy do you go with them?
I got a 3/4 and a 1 ounce.
Okay,
and
so pretty heavy.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and with a full 6-inch trailer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and but we just went along and kept trying to get Fumi a double digit. You know, and sometimes he'd call me up. We'd talk to each other at, you know, because I had to work that day, and I'd say, "Well, go anchor up over here, Fumi, and do this and do that."
How long did it take you to get that?
It was pretty quick. I don't remember exactly, but like when I started fishing with Butch, it was like 3rd or the 4th trip fishing with Butch.
Yeah.
Because I remember catching it, and he looks at me, and the first thing he said was that so hard? And
You knew right off the bat. You knew when it's a double digit.
I can tell by the look of their rod and what it does.
Okay.
You know, usually it just loads up and then goes like this, and I just go, there it is right there.
Yeah.
You know, you're ready to go.
So,
You know.
So at this time, were you studying marine biology, biologist? What were you doing at the time?
at that time, I was already teaching.
Okay.
Yeah, I had done my, when I was an undergrad, I studied marine bio, and then I switched over to studying neuroscience for my graduate school.
Okay.
And then I had already finished my postdoc at UCLA, and I'm teaching already at Cypress College. But sort of early on, I started teaching full-time at Cypress College, I think 2007-ish.
Okay.
So by 2008, 2009, 2010.
You're already
You know, I was fishing, you know, the lagoon on the weekends, you know, almost every weekend.
So when you met Butch, did you guys kind of break fish down a little, since you knew the mechanics of the fish a little differently than a regular angler, you know?
A little bit, but I would say most of it was me trying to learn from Butch, you know?
Okay.
I was purposely kind of trying not to learn fishing from like a biological standpoint, you know? Because then, like they do things that don't make sense, you know? And so I was just trying to learn how to fish, and especially.
And that was more of the
swim
mechanics for the big bait stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
It was everything. It was everything from, like things I learned from Butch. I try to break it down in 3 different areas. But this is gonna sound really nerdy, but you know.
No, people want to hear this. Trust
because
me.
you know I'm a teacher, and that's how I sort of approached it. I felt like, you know, I have a great opportunity to learn here, so I'm gonna make the best of it. And so I one area where I tried to learn from Butch is just, I kind of call it like intellectual fishing. You know, that sounds a little snobby, but it's more like fishing methodically, you know, with a purpose.
Not just chucking and whining, just actually thinking about it.
Like you know, like thinking about the pathway your swim bait is taking, all that kind of stuff, you know. So I try to learn in that area. And then also in the area of basically equipment, knowing your tackle equipment really well. And when you fish with Butch, you'll realize that he's meticulous in everything from like which hook has what size barb to like stuff for his live well, you know, anchor, which anchor rope, everything was like, you know, he had a reason for using that. So the equipment. And then the other area was in the area of like fishing with confidence, you know, like he used to tell me, Fumio, you got to believe, you know. And I used to think, what does that really mean, you know? And he meant more than like wishing I wasn't going to catch a 10, but really believing that I'm going to do it and having that confidence. Like,
how big do you think both you guys think that plays? Like, I feel like, for me, I gain confidence once I get bit on that bait, whatever it might be, whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
When some people can actually build the confidence through their mind, I don't think I can do. I don't know.
Right.
Does
For
that
sure.
thing play a huge part in the fishing? Like, say you picked up a new lure, and you don't know how confident you feel, but you got to know, hey, you got to be confident in this. But would you do something like that?
That's where it's come along with the HUD and the 250 and a couple of other baits. And, you know, when I get out there, I'm confident 100%. You know, like look at the last week. You know, I got the word 10 days ago and caught I don't know how many big fish.
Lots.
You know, to put up for this stuff. And I knew that, like last Sunday when I got off, or Saturday when I got off work, I knew I would go get a big one. And I went down there, and the third cast, boom, there's a 10-pounder in a boat.
Yeah.
Packed it up. I went home. I was done early. And then I went back on my birthday on Monday at 3 in the afternoon and looked on the internet to see how many happy birthdays I had so I can remember in case I caught one. And I caught one like the fourth cast. And then I was able to get in front of the camera and thank 200 people for the birthday wishes, you know. But, yeah, when you're on a roll, confidence is everything, and you just go all day long, chucking spot, the type of bite that it is right now, you know, because I think there's like 3 different kinds of fish in the lake.
Okay.
There's the fish that stay shallow, and they eat the bait that gets thrown out of the weeds from the coot diving down, and they stay there all year, and they're usually the bigger ones. You have the fish that migrate to the other end of the lake that feed on the deep water shad, and they pretty much stay down there until the temperature change. Then you have the nomads, the ones that go down there, and then when the water warms up, they follow some of that bait back into the shallows where the other fish are. They hang out for an hour or 2 in the afternoon, and then they go back. And I got them figured out just how they are. And then I usually look at the type of day it is, and I'll know if they're going to show or not, or if I'm looking for the ones that are just going to be down in those shallows. And they're the green ones, the big ones, and they're looking for. I'm fishing coot, birds, mud hen. And they dive, and I've shown Fumi this, and they dive, and we used to do the spinnerbait thing, but right now it's the swim bait thing. And they go down, and they decimate the weeds, and then eventually there's clumps here and there. And then you can read the coot, and they know where those weeds are because they're on them, so you get down on them. And you throw through that, and you roll through, and then you hit that clump of weeds, and you snap it out of there. And you still got weeds, and you snap it again, and when it's falling down, they think it's escaping, and it's a reaction hit, and that's how all those fish are biting right now. And there's also, you have to weigh in the factor of what time of year this is, and the water level, because right now we have low water. Okay, so that's why they're there. If we had high water and they topped it off, those coot couldn't get down to those weeds. And so it'd be more of a mass and a die-off of the weeds and stuff. But now they've got those fish confined in these places. And when I go around the lake, I know exactly where those weeds are. And I have landmarks everywhere. You know,
are you marking that? You're not even needing the electronics because you know, off of this point or off of this tree or off of this.
No electronics on it at all.
Ever.
Period. No, I look a little bit in the morning when I'm coming through the edges. But when I'm throwing swim baits and I'm drifting and doing my thing, I go, it's very little trolling motor, and usually it's the anchor, and it's...
You're still anchoring?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talked about that this week, about the anchoring and about the benefits of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, this stuff like this is like very interesting.
It means a lot because right now everybody's buying the Ultrex. With the spot lock.
So much money, dude.
Okay, so stop. I'm watching these guys on the water, and they're not getting bit. I talked to 2 of them today, and they finally realized that, you know, I got something here. But I'm on the anchor, and I'm catching double-digit fish all week long. They're not catching fish. They go out, and they hit that spot lock. And they're like, say, within 12 or 14 feet of water, which is the magic number right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that trolling motor is going to stay on that spot, and it's got a servo.
You guys could probably hear my son banging on the window.
I lost my sound again.
Did you? This is.
There you go.
There you go. I'm sorry, my son's banging on the freaking.
There you go.
Is that good right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have a servo on the top that keeps them in the GPS position. So you hear that noise, okay, and then on top of that, the motor's kicking on and off to keep you in that position. Well, when you're casting a swim bait and you're looking for the biggest fish of your life or a double-digit fish that's probably been caught before, and you're bringing that swim bait in, and you get it like, have you ever tried to sneak up on carp? You can blow in on them with no trolling motor, but when you get 20 feet from them and you tap that trolling motor just a little bit, they're gone. Okay, well, you're bringing a swim bait in, and you're coming along, and you got your $3,000 trolling motor, and then all of a sudden it's 20 feet from the boat. There's probably one tracking you somewhere, and all of a sudden that trolling motor kicks on. Well, it throws sound through the water. So why? I think it ruins your chances of catching that fish when something like that happens, because they feel it, they know it.
That's crazy.
So you got to be quiet, stay off that trolling motor on every cast. You don't touch the trolling motor, because if he's down here and you tap it, he's gone.
Yeah.
They know danger. They're not stupid. They're on the water every day when boats are around, so they know.
What's your recommendation for an anchor? Like, say if someone's like, man, I really want to get one, what do you use?
You got to have one that is more like a mushroom type of an anchor or a river anchor.
Okay.
And then it's got to be just heavy enough to hold you in the wind. You can always let out more scope. But the key is that you want to set up on your spot, okay, where you want to be, but your spot's down there. And then, when you want to go down another half a cast or something, you just hit the trolling motor and drag it to that point. And then fish. And like Fumi was saying before.
Oh, so this is a really good point like you just made, is you're almost using them together as one piece of the puzzle, is going, I'm anchored up, but if I want to move a little, you hit, like you said, you're hitting the trolling motor, getting that spot, letting it drift a little, back at a new spot.
Yeah.
Great.
Work your way down, your way out,
Yeah.
whatever. And then come back 2 hours later or something, because you probably pretty much blow anything that's behind you.
Yeah.
And if you got a guy that pulls up next to you, just blow through the anchor and shuts his bite down. You come back 2 hours later and you catch fish. It's all strategic out there, and I have it happen all the time.
Shut his bite down.
But it would be more of a swim bait style anchoring system, because like Fumi pointed out, you're not, just because you're anchored, you're not throwing off that spot.
Yes.
Because you have scope out. You want to fill them in about the swing?
Yeah. So when you're anchoring, so when he's talking about anchoring, he's not talking about like double anchoring like some guys do when you're fishing crawdads. Mm-hmm. He just has, one anchor line. And so depending on the scope and the wind and everything, you swing, right? You naturally swing. And so what I learned from Butch is that you got to anchor in such a way that when you swing, you have good coverage of that spot you're fishing. And so you don't just randomly anchor, but you anchor.
You want to swing like you're covering, like you're fan casting, but you're doing it with your boat off of an anchor.
So anchoring doesn't
50
mean...
yards of radius.
Yes.
Yeah. So anchoring doesn't mean like you only get like 3 casts at that spot and you're done, but like you anchor in such a way that when you're swinging way to the right, you can fish the right side of that spot. And then when you swing to the left, you can fish the left
How
edge
much
of that
line
spot.
are you letting out from the anchor to do that swing?
I guess that all depends on the depth and the wind and everything, yeah.
Wow.
So it depends. So then that will dictate how much you swing, right? And so, if you know your spot really well and you know how big the area is, then that'll also dictate like where you're going to anchor and how much line scope you're going to let out so that you're not swinging too much, and you're off the spot, but you're swinging just enough so that you get good coverage of that spot. And then you cover, of course, everything in between.
Do you do the same thing with the anchor, like on your boat?
I anchor a lot. So anchoring is one of those swim bait techniques that like you don't hear anybody else talk about or use, right? Like at Paris, I'm not sure if I ever seen anybody anchoring and swim bait fishing.
Well, guess what, guys? Everyone's going to be anchored.
There's a lot of flats to fish, and we fish a black anchor rope, least detectable.
Does really, stuff like that, you guys think?
Yeah, even stuff like that, Butch thinks of. So when I was talking about how Butch thinks about every detail of every little equipment, even things like color of the anchor line, even like the how rough it is. It's like, well, don't get an anchor line that's too rough on your hands because it will make you not want to use it. And so even that kind of stuff you'll think about.
What about smell?
I use garlic.
Do you?
All the time. I have all those.
The bang.
You got it, buddy.
I had one blow up in my console once.
Yeah, they get stinky, huh? But the bang is the best.
That's good luck
for swim baits only. Rubber.
Yeah, yes.
I don't put it on any hard baits or glide baits because it doesn't really make any difference.
Doesn't make a difference.
But I spray probably every 20th cast or when I'm traveling, the bang, and the bang cleans the bait up, makes it shiny. And I got the guys using it, and I used to wrap it in black tape so nobody could tell what I was spraying out there. But all those videos, I just lost my sound.
Did you? I'm sorry.
There you go.
I thought I gave you a better one. I gave you the shitty one. I might give you mine in a second.
It was.
Hold on.
There you go. Okay.
You good?
Yeah, but all those fish that I posted recently all had bang on the rubber swim bait. Prior to the casting. The boat stinks. It gets on the lens of the camera. My clothes stink. But I've used it for years and years and years, and it really works. It's cheap, and I don't use the smelly jellies or the Procures or any of that because they're more petroleum based, and like if you put it on a depths, it'll rot the skin.
Yeah,
and it'll ruin the bait. So you want to keep it off.
Which makes sense. I used to put a lot of when I used to fish halibut from the surf a lot, and you put it on the Lucky Crafts. And after the time, it'd start, starting to look bad.
Well, you got to look at it this way. If you have a car that leaks oil, usually after a period of time, it rots out the rubber seals in the front on your ball joints and stuff. So it's sort of the same thing.
Yeah, you want to use the proper...
if you're going to do it, put it on the back of the head, maybe a little bit or something, but not near the tail. You don't need to put it all over the place,
Do you think that the lake good enough where you could use any bait and still get bit?
No.
It's got to be a certain bait. Has to be a certain bait.
Yeah, it has to be certain baits.
Is it all profile more, or is it?
I think it's action and profile and confidence and everything, because a lot of baits are not painted. They're painted nice, but in the water they just don't look. So they look like a Disneyland trinket to me.
You feel like some of these paint jobs. This is another great topic. Like I was talking to Gilbert, he's like, sometimes it's the most you can do. So some of these paint jobs are just too much, you think, for the fish?
I think so.
They need to be a little more subtle.
Depends what fish you're targeting. Like you can go back into the other states and Minnesota and all through there, and those are big fish days, and they're going to eat that kind of stuff. They eat crankbaits. They catch 100 fish days back there. But you come out here to California, it's not like that. Plus you have a lot of guys put silver hooks on them or black hooks, so you got this black hook on a white belly that's flopping around, or and these big bass have eyes as big as us, and they notice everything. Do
you wrap the hooks with a braid around it? Some people will do that. The trebles, you think that adds a little too much?
I use bronze hooks.
And feathers? No feathers?
No feathers. Okay. Feathers on a glide bait restrict the glide.
Really?
Yeah, it's like getting a piece of moss on there. Just holds it back.
Yeah.
When I tune these up or do what I'm doing to them, like you'll see with that one when you finally go fish it, it's going to shoot out about 4 or 5 feet.
How many people did you get messaging to tune the baits after the podcast?
I get a lot. I get them every week.
I was wondering.
I had to shut it down around Thanksgiving because I wanted to go fish.
I get
so I shut it down because I got one load of a 20-something baits from another guy, and they were starting to come in 10s and 20s from one guy here and there, and it was like, Jesus, man, that's 20 hours of my work here, and and it's not like you couldn't pay me what I make in a day or by the hour to make it worth it. It's all done because I want to do it because I want you to catch fish. And I want you to do what I'm doing, because it works.
Yeah.
But you have to find the guys that are going to take it or take what I want to give them and the information that I have, like a couple that I'm mentoring up north and stuff like that, and at my lake, and let them build on that and be successful. Like the kid I told you about, Zach, that's up north.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if he had a 10-pound bass on our last. He's got 5 bass over 10 pounds now, and he's got 2 teeners.
Wow.
Already.
That's great.
And he just got his boat, 2 years ago, maybe 3, and he's learning his lake. He listens.
Yes.
And he does, and he gets it.
You guys think that
he looks at the moon. He gets it. He calls me, and I'll say, "What time was it?" And he'll say this. I say, "Well, what did you just notice?" So he he'll be one to reckon with up in his neighborhood.
That's missing. I think it is this day. People don't want to listen as much. They want to just go, 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 go.
Well, they want their own path. They want to create their own style, their own path. It's like you look at the baits that are being made now. Well, they're all similar. Nobody's thinking out of the box on what the next gig is. Okay, and I have a bait that I don't put out yet. I'm not ready to put out yet. That has a completely different action, and it's a rubber bait that looks just like a regular rubber tail, like a thumper tail or like Gilbert's bait or something. Mm-hmm. But the difference is when you jerk it and you do stuff to it, it does different things, and it's more of an escape kind of a reaction bite. It just takes off on you.
Wow.
And that is something that you was trial and error over the years.
How long you been working on that bait for?
I've had that bait a long time, probably
Really?
almost 15, maybe 20 years. Wow. But it mutated into certain things until I finally changed the tail on it, and then it started doing crazy stuff. And I've have it in some of the videos and stuff like that. But it really gets them right now. It's crazy.
So when you first found out about the 250, Fumio had a little part in that, right?
Uh-huh. Yes,
Let's talk about that, Fumio.
Well, so we had a mutual friend. His name was Yasu, and he was a depths member. So at that time, you could only get the Slide Swimmer as a member.
How did that work?
How to get the membership?
Membership.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't look into it too much at that time because you had to be in Japan to get membership. So it wasn't like, I could get membership. And so Yasu was a person who fished at the lagoon also. And he had it one day. And we met up with them at the end of the day, we were done fishing. At the dock, we're just chatting. He had it tied on his rod, and we saw it, and well, that looks pretty cool. How does it swim? And so he just, gave us the rod and said, make a cast. And we made a cast, and it swam. And we were looking at each other.
That was the 175, though.
Yeah, initially it was the 175. That's right.
I said,
initially it was the 175.
Do they make it bigger? Yeah. And he goes, next year.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the 175 was a members only kind of thing too.
Okay.
And so that's how we learned about it. And he was the one that basically got it for us, so got one each.
Were you guys like the first in
America?
Well,
when he ordered the 250s, we asked him what color they were, and remember I got like 10 of them.
Yeah.
In the cart pattern. Yeah. And he looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
And they were back then they were $70 a piece.
Yeah.
And then we got them.
Yeah.
And then we went fishing, and then we had to figure out what kind of hooks to use.
Yeah.
And all of that, and it just went from there.
What when you guys first took it out and went fishing with it, was it like, oh my God, this is a whole nother bait? Because what glides were you using before then?
There was no glides.
We weren't using it, and
there wasn't a BBZ or a
such word.
No. So there wasn't that Rago didn't have a glide yet.
He called it a gladiator.
He was a gladiator.
Okay.
That came quite a bit afterwards, I believe.
Yeah.
So this was like the first, you guys got to get your hands on the first glide bait and try it.
I mean, in Japan, Gangcraft had the jointed claw, so they had that, right? But it wasn't like really available here, and we weren't using that.
The Gangcraft stuff,
so, Yeah, so that was like our first glide bait, the depths, the 175 and the 250. And mainly we were using the HUD and rubber baits.
So this was like a game changer for you because you guys had to learn how to fish a glide bait. It wasn't just like, hey, I'm picking it up.
The thing is that when we ordered it in October and then got them in like March. Was that when it was?
Yeah, it took a little while.
It took 6 months to get them through the order. Mm-hmm. But by the time we got them, it was in the summertime mode. And what it ended up doing is it took those blank times that you struggle throughout the summer a little bit on a HUD or something like that, where you had to try to force feed them, because I logged hours and hours without catching fish on a depth or on a HUD, trying to, 180 hours here, 200 hours here. Well,
were you keeping track of that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'd go a whole month, man, nothing. And then finally you get a bite, and I got one in October, woohoo, Well, then the 250 came along, and it was like the goose that laid the golden egg.
Really?
Because you could run it along the edge of the weeds and stuff, and they just wouldn't leave. It was amazing the draw power that it had. We knew that it would work at any lake, and we just sort of kept it quiet for quite a while.
The question is like, how long did you guys keep it quiet? And what did you do when guys walked up and said, "What are you fishing, man?" Would you just go like, "Nothing"?
They never got to see it because it was never tied on, but I had lent it to a couple of friends to fish tournaments. One won 9 tournaments back to back on it.
Wow.
And he didn't let anybody see it. But, for me, I think I had it about, 2 years before I talked to Deps about it.
Yeah, at least 2 years.
Because it trickled out.
Yeah.
Certain people knew what I was doing here and there, and then it was getting trickled out through the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then even some of those guys to this day think that, well, they had it first and everything like that. And they could be that way if they want. But, when I saw that it was running in a different direction, like I told you, I had already introduced myself to Matt at the ISE show, and I wanted to meet the Depths people to show them my videos. And then...
that was 2010, 9?
Probably 9 or 8 or 9.
Is that when you met Matt Pano as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I thought he was just a kid, and I didn't want to give him the videos.
What a jerk, Matt Pano.
Yeah, so I blew him off, and then Jeremy Anderson from Black Dog, he said, "Well, he goes, man, you got all this stuff. He goes, let me introduce you to somebody." Who was he going to introduce me to? Matt Pano. And then,
you know how funny this is I did Jeremy. I went up north and did it. So it's cool to hear you talk about Jeremy because he talks about meeting you, like at Anglers Marine or something. I don't know what it was. But it's cool to have this all coincide. Like, they're going to listen to Jeremy, and then they're going to hear you again and go,
well, he had the 250 up there. He was stroking them.
Yeah.
But I knew the cat was going to get out of the bag, and I knew that I sort of could have had a little bit of a legacy with the Huddleston, but I wasn't interested in that. But, it sort of like got a little hijacked after a while. And then I thought to myself, you know what? Being as now I have a camera in the boat, a video camera, I have all this footage. Well, why not show you what I got? And that's when I got on the Swimbait Nation site after meeting Matt, and they made me the deal. And then they asked about their color, and I told them it sucked. Their trout color, and we had.
Did you agree 100%?
We had custom painted ones.
There's a lot of colors that they use in Japan. It's popular that maybe wouldn't be so much here.
They think out of the box.
Colors.
They're not afraid to try anything over there. That's where a lot of stuff.
Do you feel like we're a step behind?
Now I do.
You do?
I think we had the wave. We were on top of the wave in the swimbait world. And then now I think Japan has passed us, and I think they've also passed us in just presentation, other than they're thinking out of the box. But, you get a custom painted lure from one of our companies in America, and it comes in this cheap plastic thing, and it's got a stapled label to it, and you just paid $150, $200 for that bait. Well, when you buy something from Japan,
like a Roman made,
it could be, but it could be a piece of junk. It's like their candy. Packaging is everything. You got a bubble pack to store that $150 bait in, or that $200 bait in. You don't have a piece of plastic, and almost all of our bait makers are like that. The only guy that really did things back then that I consider right, because they use boxes in Japan and things like that, is Jeremy Anderson.
Yeah.
The Punker came in that really nice box, and when you opened it up, it was like a piece of jewelry. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you make these baits and say you're going to sell 200 of them for $150 a piece, that's $30,000. Okay, well, why not spend $1 extra for good packaging and spend $300 out of that money, so the person has something that looks beautiful instead of hanging up on a pegboard.
Will you fish any of the new baits?
Not really.
No.
They're all the same thing.
Do you try anything new, like some of the new bait builders?
I try not to just get new something, just
or something
because it's
that
new.
You like that you look, man, it's.
But I did recently get a couple of the DRT baits just because they seem pretty big and they seem pretty cool and you can do different stuff with it.
Have you tried the DRT baits too, Butch?
You know what? They sent me those. I gave them away at the lake.
Oh.
Fumio's like,
some lucky guy.
Hey, I would have took those, you jerk. You could have given it to Fumio for his birthday.
They put the tail on wrong. The hell am I going to fish that for? But you got to look at the size of the fish that you're catching.
Yeah.
I want to catch big fish. I see it catches a lot of fish, but you got to look at the percentage of the double digits. There are 10-pounders caught on it and stuff like that, but that's just sort of how I look at the big picture when I look at things. And I am in a high percentage fishing, so I go with what I know works. And everybody goes, oh, well, gosh, they've seen the 250 everywhere and they just don't eat it anymore, and this and this and this and this. Well, the HUD's been out for I don't know how long. They still eat that. The Batesmith has been out. They still eat that. And I don't see anybody throwing a 250 very often, very, very few, at least around me. In fact,
they throw them, Butch. Those things fucking sell out like hotcakes.
Yeah, I know, but around me they're not. So I don't see them doing it. So and I think everything adds up to the bite, whether it's your reel, your rod, your line. How you present the bait, where you present it. I think all that adds up into the bite.
But I feel like, are you more of like, if it's not broken, don't fix it? You know what I'm saying? So you're old school. Mm-hmm. Would you say you're old school?
Yeah.
Okay. So why try something else if you're already having success doing something?
It's like fishing line. Why do I want, just because you're going to give me 3,000 yards a year fluorocarbon, would I switch?
What fishing line do you love using?
I love Seagar Brazex.
Okay. What
20-pound test.
Same. I use the same. I've been using
it. It just doesn't break. It lasts. It's good. And if I change, it might cost me a few baits. And I have changed, and it did cost me a 15-pound bass next to the boat. And I gave the whole spool to my other guy who fished tournaments. I said, take this stuff, so.
But that's going back to, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You're.
Every bait has its place, from the punker, as far as that kind of action is my favorite. I still use the wooden chubby cheek from the very beginning because it's a wake bait. It's a big profile, and it's wood. It doesn't make that plasticky sound and stuff. And then break that down into like the glide bait, which would be the 250 because it's the most graceful one that there is out there, if you ask me.
Are you still throwing the 175 a lot or not?
I don't throw that very often.
Too small.
Yeah, it's not my thing.
Okay.
I like to throw the big stuff. You got the HUD is that place. The thumper tail. You got Gilbert's bait, which is a weedless bait. Those are all.
And you fish Gilbert's bait?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So when I say something new, that's a new bait.
It
hasn't been out as it's newer compared.
But I have a place to fish it.
Yes.
I don't believe that you need to fish a bait that has a hook buried in it like that in open water. I like it through structure and weeds because when they eat it through there, they ambush it and they chomp on it good. When they're out in open water, I don't think that they are quite as aggressive on it. So you miss a lot, that way versus if you're dragging it, slow rolling it on the bottom and you're going past structures and stuff. That's where bait needs to, where its place should be. And then a lot of guys, it's like, I was thinking on the way up, there are still guys that are making trout baits and stuff.
You think there's no need?
Well,
it's
like you have all this talent out here. You have Batesmith, you have Huddleston, you have those are what I consider swim baits, rubber baits. Swim baits are not glide baits. Swim baits are not wake baits. Swim baits are not build baits. Swim baits are rubber baits, just like, the double A
exactly.
and the
saltwater
old
stuff
school stuff.
Just like,
yeah, those are true swim baits. That's where the word came from. But all this talent that they have, to make those trout baits look like they do, but not one of them can anatomically make a correct looking carp or a tilapia that might work maybe in Texas and Arizona.
But do you think that's because we're in California and that's what people are going off of?
But our California bait makers don't really sell their baits in California. All their stuff seems to be going to the other states because they really, from what I'm seeing out here, they don't quite eat them so great, but back in the South and back up through there, they use them a lot.
But
they work good at night.
Pressure as well. I mean, think how pressured we are compared to back east.
And at night, they eat a lot. They'll eat the baits, but you can't really base everything on that. It's almost like a guy that poaches in a place and catches fish where you and me can't fish legally. It's sort of a false reading on your talent level.
Do you, would you, if you caught a PB at a private lake, would you consider that personal best? If it was a private lake?
Yeah, if it was a PB.
It's not like you're, it's private. So say you had to live there, pay maybe, and you caught your 22.
Yeah.
Would you consider that I caught my 22?
Yeah, but I don't think it would count in the record book because it's not open to the public.
Yes.
So there's a little
fine
line
where is you stand on that? It's like, do you want the public record or do you want your own personal best PB?
And I'd love to hold a fish like that.
That's what you're chasing.
I would call it my PB. There's been fish that have been caught over some buoy lines that are considered lake records, even though they were in the wrong zone when they were caught.
Yeah.
But to them and to personally, it is a PB.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so messed up.
There's no hard line of anything. That's with the people. No. It's like nowadays it's kind of with social media. I hate saying this all the time, but it's everything's everywhere.
That's why if you look at all my videos, they're all daytime open hours, period. That's it, and there's no discrepancy over any of it, and like me and Fumi, like wintertime is 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock is my favorite time.
Yeah.
And
which is a big difference to me. I've always been taught, I'm sure, do you go out early when you go fishing, Fumi? Because you don't get to fish as much as Butch, so
because I fish like once a week, and on average I fish like 35 times a year at the lake, and then I do my saltwater fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I go, I try to go from opening to closing. Okay. Because it's also a long drive for me, and if I'm going to be in that traffic, and I got the day to fish from my wife, I'm like, okay, no matter how bad the fishing is, I'm just out there all day. I'm just
you and your dog, right?
Yeah, me and my dog, and if it has to be bottom the ninth inning and I catch a fish 30 minutes before the lake closes, that's fine. I just want to fish, so for me, it's like that. I don't really get to fish like 1 hour there, 2 hours there, because I'm not too close.
I think you should go, different. And I go in the morning also. It's just that those bites in the wintertime during the colder months seem to be in the afternoon.
But are you only focusing on swim baits, or will you throw like a drop shot, a jig, something else?
Right now, I'm like fishing swim baits 90-95% of the time, I would say. And
that's because it's a different mentality as well.
Yeah. I fish, spinner baits sometimes. I fish top water sometimes because I like it, but it's just hard to switch. And we were talking about this the other day too, a little while ago actually, but when Butch says something like, during the seminars for the people listening, if you've seen Butch do a Fred Hall, seminar, he might say something like, I never tied on a drop shot, or I don't fish Senkos. And, when and I might say something similar. And when we say that, it's not because we're dissing on those techniques. We're not saying, drop shotting, that sucks or whatever. But it's because, like, when you're really focused on wanting to catch that, double digit or teener bass, and you believe that fishing a swim bait is the best way to do it, obviously it's not the only way, but it's one of the best ways to do it. It's like you really don't have time in the day to do like anything else, Like we go to the lake and we kind of have a mental list of what we want to accomplish that day, right? Like we have a plan based on like past experience or, you know, current conditions or or, you know, what you learned from a fellow angler, whatever. So you go to the lake with a sort of like a mental list of what I want to do. And then you get to the lake, and then because conditions are different or wind is blowing some way, you know, that might get rearranged what you want to accomplish in a day. But on any given day, I would say I don't accomplish like maybe 30% of what I wanted to do, you know?
Due to conditions.
I want to do this. And so then I just don't feel like I have any time to try any techniques, you know? Like we were talking about anchoring earlier, you know, we set up anchor, we're on a great spot, right? And we're fishing a swim bait and we get no bites, right? Let's say. Then, you know, I have friends
that took
tell
you
me
a certain amount of time to do
Yeah.
that. So you can't,
So
you don't have
set up
time
and
to
all
go
that.
try something
Yeah.
else because you
Yeah.
just spent 3 hours
Yeah.
on that point, waving
Yeah.
back and forth. It makes
Yeah,
sense.
and somebody might, you know, say to us, "Oh, you're set up on a great spot. You didn't get bit on a swim bait, but it's at a great spot. Why not try something else? Why don't you cast a worm? You know, why don't you cast a jig?" We could, but we already have our next move sort of mapped out, right? Like
And
Butch
you know,
knows where he wants to go
But you would
next.
know you'd catch a 3-4 pounder. You know you're going to catch that if you were
Yeah,
through
and
that.
we're not interested.
And that's
in
not
that,
what
I
you're
guess.
looking for.
Yeah,
Here's a great follow-up question for you on that. I've asked a ton of swim bait guys this question. Do you think you need the conventional fish to be able to be a good swim bait fisherman? So, like, there's a lot of kids nowadays that just skip conventional fishing
yeah.
and go straight into swim bait fishing. Couple guys said, yeah, you don't need to conventional fish. You can swim bait fish. Some guys go, no.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to work a jerk bait, a jig, because it's going to play in hand with Huddleston, you know, a depths, whatever you got to work it. What do you think first?
That's
Fumio?
a great question, and you know, one of the reasons why Butch is such a great fisherman is because he did all that before swim baits became readily available. I mean, he's got double digits and spinner baits and crankbaits and worms and everything, right? So he knows how to fish. Bottom line, right? So whatever technique it is, and you'll see that when he's fishing saltwater too. I mean, so I think it's important. You know, that's my personal opinion. Is that like you do learn a lot from like fishing a Texas rigged worm or a jig or a crankbaits, and as long as you're learning from each technique you're using and you know how to apply that to a different technique, then it's really beneficial. And I would recommend somebody to do that. You know, if somebody young was getting into swim baits and whether they're catching fish or not, you know, if they want to be better at it, then they should try some of these other techniques and see how things, you know, how things feel differently when you're fishing a crankbait or, you know, moving a jig over rocks, and you know how that feels differently in your hands, and you'll learn about your gear, you know, and your equipment much better. I
like
think
line sizes could help. I mean, you you're going to jump straight to 20 or 30, whatever you're doing on swim bait. You're never going to touch 15.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten that small when you're throwing a swim bait? 15, like if it's really hard, you go like, I got to do it. I got to do it this one time.
I have.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, you tried it and you knew how much you could go with that because you fished it before for spinnerbait. Crankbait maybe, who knows, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way, Butch? You gotta have some
you have to be
fundamentals?
well-rounded in order to be super successful, I think, because you take a spinnerbait, for instance. It's sort of basically work it the same way in all its different styles versus casting it and buzzing it, which is with burn bait for a swim bait, casting it and out reeling in the middle and pausing, reeling, same as a swim bait, letting it sink to the bottom, slow rolling it on the bottom, same as a HUD. It just keeps you in tune. You get more bites, you learn more about it, and I just think it's a beneficial to be more well-rounded, and you learn what the bite feels like. You know, fishing at night once in a while with a plastic worm gets you in tune to feel more than sight. So when you're working a swim bait, you don't have to really be looking at anything because you feel it, you know, and boom, you're on.
Yeah.
And I like to fish my swim baits with a little bit of a dip in my line instead of a tight line. And I feel that snap right away, and I'm fast.
You think that helps with the bite, so you know that,
any little tick, any strange
tightens up the
thing
line
I feel, I'm swinging.
Okay.
You know, the bites I've had lately, I was telling Fumio, you know, I'm snapping it out of the weeds, and I'll feel like something brushed it that's not mushy. And I'm like, God, I think I got a bite. And then I jerk it again, and then it starts to sink, and all of a sudden, wham, it's there.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's due to knowing some of the fundamentals of fishing.
Yeah, you should.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. You know, and you know, the moon is a big deal. You know, but you have to still go fishing.
Yeah.
Regardless,
but have you
track of it.
But you've caught fish when the moon's not been in the proper position for you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
I mean,
but the percentage is more like at 90% when the moon is in where I'm thinking it's supposed to be versus where it's not. Everything happens regardless of the. You might have, you know, you can catch a 12-pound bass on a MEP spinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It happens.
Yeah.
You know, the chances are that it's not, but
so you feel like it's a little more luck when you don't have that moon.
Yes.
Right time, right place.
Yes. I touched bases with a friend of mine yesterday that was fishing the lake, and we knew the moon was going to be down at about 12:30 or so. I got a text, 10-1, right after the moon went down. And that's the same thing that's been with me all week, and we keep track of that, you know. And
is that the biggest thing?
Bait.
Is that the biggest thing you look and do for swim bait fishing? Is the moon?
When I get excited and it's in my favor.
Yeah.
But see, I just put it together, you know, like, this flurry just happened, and all of a sudden there it is, and now everything sort of sucks, or it just went down and I just had this flurry. And it's not based on general style fishing. It's based on years of throwing the big swim bait.
Yeah.
And dealing with the bigger fish. You know, so I can't. You know, it used to be where I would just, you know, throw a spinner bait or do something else in that dead time that I considered a non-big fish type bite.
Yeah. Yes.
Or if my wife had something to do at home, I made sure that I did it in that time zone, so that I could be at the lake in the right time zone.
Yeah, right.
And then some of us don't have that. You know, we have to go fishing when we go fishing, and you just got to stay with it. But sometimes it's hard to sit out on the lake all day to wait for that moon to go down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you've been up since 3:30 in the morning.
But that makes sense, though. Like I'd changed my, like, I went fishing with a guy. His name was Jared. I took him leadhead and squid fishing yesterday. And we caught some good ones. They're from Texas, so they never caught a calico or sand bass. So I'm like, oh, you got to feel it, man. This is way different.
Yeah.
So they're like, we don't wake up till 9 to go fishing, you know. I'm like, and I'm up at 4:35 all the time to go. You know, I'm up, gone, you know.
Yeah.
And I always feel like I know it might not matter. Tides is a big difference in the ocean. It doesn't matter, but I feel like I always get bit in the morning. I just confidence. It's my confidence time is the morning. I know when the sun's coming up, I know I'm going to catch a big calico. I know it.
You're right too. You're right on that.
So I mean, and let's move to conservation, because I feel. Let's talk about your background a little bit on research. You did some stuff with calico, sand bass, spotties.
Yeah. This was when I was an undergrad in San Diego. I used to do a little research at Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and it was mainly on those species, the calico bass, sand bass.
How long did you do that for?
About 3 years.
Long time.
Yeah. Like I did it pretty much throughout my undergrad education there, you know. I was really into it, and I was lucky to have professors, you know, who involved me in their research. So, so I spent quite a bit of time doing that, but I switched to different area of research after I graduated. So I haven't done that in a while.
I got a lot of good calico questions for you. So,
no. I don't know if I can answer them though. They were very specific. We were looking at like specific.
You tell us what you researched. For
we were mainly looking at like specific enzyme activity and relation to temperature, and then a little bit about like muscle growth and muscle cell recruitment and such. But I didn't really study like growth rate or anything, but more like muscle recruitment.
Okay.
But mainly it was about studying the activities of various enzymes and how it changes with temperature.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Did you have anyone that you talked to that saw patterns of like where the fish moved?
No, I didn't really do like tagging kind of studies,
Okay.
So
It was
we
just
didn't
catching
really
him.
do
And
that.
Butch went on some of those trips with you?
No, Butch has done more of those tagging things.
Did you?
Like that's more recent, right?
You guys both have gone on them?
Yeah, I haven't, but Butch has, and we have another buddy, Whitney, who does it too.
And he does.
That's like on
I
the
know
Aloha
Whitney, yeah.
Spirit and
Yeah, Whitney's a great guy.
some boats up in Santa Barbara, and that's really more of a like population study kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool how they set up the grid, though, because that's all you get the fish.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I was telling you, these guys here, these 4 get the fish a 6-inch swim bait, and they have to fish it all day, and they cannot change. Those guys get the fish squid in a lead head all day. They can't change. That guy fishes the fly and tip bait.
Yeah.
And then the boat captain has 4 grids, and then he puts the boat and keeps the boat in one spot, and you fish that for about 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then they put the fish that you catch in a thing, and we're fishing sanctuaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You can't keep them; they let them all go.
But it's fun to get bit all day, right?
Yeah. And then you go to the next grid, and the next grid, and the next grid, and then you travel a little bit to another grid. And then at the end of the day, they do their calculations and everything they do, and they get excited if you catch a shark by accident or an octopus or things like that. But it's pretty neat,
Yeah.
to go.
And that leads us into the freshwater part of it, which I think both of you guys have a lot of experience. So I've always wondered, I've heard different stories from different people about boat flipping. So for the picture, you get a lot of guys that'll flip the bass on the boat. I've heard from one person that did a research with I forgot her name. She did some research at Catalina. And she's saying, for calicos at least, I don't know if it's for a largemouth, that if you flip a calico onto the deck, it's like getting a baby and dropping it. And then whatever happens after that is what happens to the baby. Is that true?
Well, we're both not into flipping, bass too much.
But do you think that the effect on flipping does that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've felt them on my, you're standing there at the rail and you feel that calico hit the deck, and then the guy goes, I would just want to let it go, and it's like, dude, I go, I just felt that in my heart when it hit the deck. I go, and the decks have that walnut grit on it, and it can't be good for them. And the same with the bass, I think that you need to respect those big fish, and and a lot of guys, I see the problem in watching their videos is they buy the biggest, baddest net they can buy, and then they're by themselves, and you can't hold the end of it because it's so big that you can't hold it and then get the fish in a swoop. And if you just watch the videos like mine, I use a shorter net. It's light. I don't use the rubberized mesh. I use the small mesh, not the plastic nylon ones. And it's fast in the water, and it's soft when it gets wet. And then I keep those fish down from jumping until they get right next to the boat, and then I just pull them right on into that net, and they usually jump right at the boat. And you can see it in every video, but I just don't think that they've had enough practice, and maybe that's why they have to flip it in the boat or something. But the only time that we would flip is, like Fumi was saying, if you have no choice and it eats it right there. You have no choice. You got 3 feet of line out. He's going ballistic. What do you do?
Yeah.
But don't flip it, all the way up here into the camera and then watch it go
drop
down.
it hard.
You can just flip it right over the side of the boat.
I think that's
nice
more of a to look cool thing, I guess. Maybe like
I think it is.
I think so.
It just, you have to look at it in the big,
but it's hurting. Is it hurting the fish? Is a question.
I think it could.
I think so.
On dry, hot carpet, or hit a screw, or a tackle box flopping around doing its thing.
I wonder if it does though. Like like they say, dropping the fish. Like you're dropping You're throwing. That's like me grabbing
10
you,
pounds.
throwing you up in the air 8 feet.
Well, when I was doing that research, we used to go collecting our fish, and there's a pier at Scripps, and I had a professor who would take me fishing there, and we'd catch sand bass, calico bass, and there's a holding tank at the end of the pier. And a lot of what we caught, like we would often put it in the holding tank, and it was either for research or some of it went to the aquarium, the Stephen Birch Aquarium.
Yeah.
And then from the holding tank, we might have to transport it to another tank. And oftentimes, fish might be dropped going to that first holding tank or from the holding tank to the other tank, and we'll drop it. And we would put it, back in the tank, and then it seemed fine initially, but we would come back next day to find it dead,
Really?
And so that, I saw enough of that. And
to
so
know that something's going on.
Yeah, so that's why, because I saw that personally, that's why I'm not into flipping boats, and I try not to do it. And like Butch is saying, like we've done it sort of out of necessity. Like last summer I did it like twice. I had hooked a few fish doing that figure eight thing at Paris, and you lose a lot of fish doing that. I had lost like 3 fish,
really?
like fumbling, looking for the net. And they're just not hooked well. They're thrashing around, and so I ended up flipping a few. But when I do it, I try to keep it low, and then I rush to it, and I grab the line to get it off the seat or whatever, and then I try to unhook it and stick it in a live well if I want to take a picture. Do it as fast as possible. I'm certainly not doing it, for the camera so it looks cool, and I'm not lifting it high.
You're just happy you got a good fish. And you want to take a picture of it.
And I'm not letting it bounce around, and I'm not, and I don't even put stuff like that on my Instagram or anything because I don't think it looks cool. And as a matter of fact, afterwards I feel kind of bad about it, so I don't do it. So yeah, we have that's my reasoning for not liking it. Some guys think that's part of the fun and it's whatever, and it's okay, but that's my reasoning for not thinking it's cool.
But do you think it would help on the longevity then of the fish, even in largemouth? Like you want to keep those things going, as long as you can, right? To get bigger.
I'd rather see a video of somebody skillfully netting a 10-pounder. That's more, I learned something from that, somebody flipping a boat, and, it's not like I'm learning anything. Oh, I can use that next time I hook a teener, it's all right, so it's not such a learning thing. The one analogy I have for that, it's not a perfect analogy, but people who fish in Southern California might relate, is that if you're fishing on a sport boat, you go to the bait tank, you grab that sardine or mackerel, and then you drop it. What do you do with that?
Throw it overboard.
Kick it over the scupper.
Like you don't fish it, right? And if you put it back in the bait tank, you'll get yelled at by the deckhand, right? And so then you ask yourself, why is that? Because a fish that landed on the deck, even a mackerel that flopped around for 10 seconds, you don't expect that fish to swim strong and normally, right? Even for the next 3 minutes you're fishing it, it's like done. And so a 8-pound bass that you lifted super high and it dropped on the deck really hard and it's flopping around for 30 seconds just because you're sticking your tongue out at the camera and doing a shaka or whatever, right? Why would you expect that fish to swim and be normal once you let it go, So, to me, it doesn't add anything to my,
But I
fishing,
mean, it's just a thing that maybe people could do to help keep the fish better. I mean, you keep them in a live well. Do you do something a little different? Do you do additives or anything like that in the live well?
We do Sure Life.
Oh, you do?
And
okay.
then I have a recycling pump, 500 gallon. And then I have a freshwater pump that's 750 gallons, and they run full time until the pitcher is done. And then the fish are all treated, right off the get-go. But the thing with catching big fish is if you notice, I got a lot of 5-fish, big fish limits. And that's because there's more than one around. And the minute you lose one and the minute that you start letting them go, well, a lot of times they go straight down, and the pack will just go on out there with them. So I get into an area, and even if they're like 3 to 5 pounds, and if I'm on a little flurry out there, they all go in, until I'm done, and then I'll go out, take them outside. They might be in 15 feet of water, but I always take them out to at least 30 feet of water. I never let them go in the same spot that I catch them, because I never want to know that I'm catching the same fish.
Yeah.
So I take them out into 30 feet of water, and I let them all go out there in the middle of nowhere, and I can see them on my sonar go down, and then some will settle in at 20, 25 feet. You can see them, and then everything is good, and then go start fishing again. And then like if I'm on a really hot bite in the morning where I know things are going, Fumi's the one that took the depth picture that has all those fish on it. He was there. That's his boat next to mine. Well, those fish were all caught in about an hour or so, and we had 7 of them. There was nothing under probably 12 pounds on that stringer.
Oh my gosh.
And but in the summertime, if you're going to do it, you got to get them all in there. And that's what you got about an hour, and then you can get a quick picture of them, and then you got to get them out of there.
Okay. What about lipping a fish? Is there a certain way to hold them that you guys think is better to not break their jaw, maybe something like that? Because you see a lot of guys long arm, or whatever it might be. But is there a way to hold them to make sure maybe their jaw doesn't break?
I've never seen one with a broken jaw.
No, because I've heard that. This is all stuff I've heard. People
read
say,
I've read it.
So I might want to see what you guys think.
I've been criticized for that. I get criticized for no matter what I do, whether I put them on a clip, whether I put them on a bogey grip, whether I hold them like this, it doesn't matter with me.
You think their jaws are strong enough where it is not really going to make a big difference?
Maybe if you can, support the body, but
yeah, I think jerking around is not
cool.
But I think you need to sort of hold them,
kind of twist
nicely,
the hand a little to keep it.
That's the proper etiquette.
If you're gonna hold it by the jaw, doing things like lifting it high or in a jerky movement is probably not good.
And there's a difference by the jaw. You can grab them by the jaw and keep the mouth straight up and down and fairly closed and hold them, or you can go like this and then lay that thing open
and that's what
like a bucket.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's so great. But,
yeah.
That's a hard one too. For the picture, I get it, but these are all things that I thought of. I'm like, wow, man, what does that do to the fish?
I've never seen one with a broken jaw at all, and all the fish I've ever caught, just doesn't, even crappie, it just doesn't seem like it does anything.
Yeah.
You know your limits. If you got a 19-pound bass hanging out of your hand, you're not going to go like that. That's not
Rip
right. You gotta
support
hold it.
Yeah. Let me look up. We had a call-in question. Let me let's see. I don't know how hard this is going to be. I got to connect. You guys got a pee or anything?
Nope.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah.
Water, anything?
Take another beer.
Here he comes. Let me get you one. I'll open it up.
I'll eat one of these.
Take a beer
Fumio,
break.
you're going slow, dude.
Take one too, then. Huh?
Which is going to do one? I'll take one too.
You already drank yours?
I drink 2
Oh,
of them.
good man.
I drink a lot of beer, so. That's my vice. This is one that is from Quinstagram 444. How has catch and release culture been the death of trophy bass fishing? I don't understand that.
I don't understand.
Do you think it's been the depths? Like the death of it?
How would you have more fish to catch if they weren't released?
I think they're trolling us, maybe.
Well, my
what I
take on
thought.
that, so he's a fisheries biologist, right? Is that?
It's not.
Is it? No.
I think this guy was from Arizona.
I don't know.
Is
it?
If it's from San Diego, it's
No.
Quinn,
Yeah.
the fish and game guy.
Is it?
Well, but I can't tell. I looked at the
It says
picture.
Quinstagram 444. It doesn't say, but
I'm not exactly sure, but maybe the question is saying, how if you have catch and release and you're not harvesting anything, the population gets too big, and maybe the size of the fish may get stunted.
You're thinking
And
that the
so
size
that-
of it is getting as big.
Yeah, so
Okay.
then you're not taking enough of the small fish out of the lake, and that there's not enough food to support like really big fish, you know. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure if that's what was meant by the original question, but I mean,
No, that's the
it could
truth,
potentially
though, right?
be taken that way. And so has that killed trophy bass fishing? Well, one, I don't think trophy bass fishing is dead, right? Because if it is, I've been wasting my time. But I mean, I can see it like in some ways, yeah, not having any harvest. Like in many fish and animals, you know, I think some harvest has been shown to be beneficial to the population, right? In some instances. And so, you know, when people are not taking any, it could have that effect. But on the other hand, I think it's had beneficial effects too, because if you assume that, you know, the way bass fishing started, I assume like any other kind of fishing, people probably threw back the little ones and kept the big ones, right? Mm-hmm. And then bass fishing at some point became mostly catch and release, and that was probably due to the tournament fishing, right? That format. And then tournament fishing isn't really about catching like the biggest bass, but catching numbers and big bags, right? Not individual trophies. So then it started out, catch and release probably started that way, you know, basically releasing the small or medium-sized fish, and then it eventually extended to include trophy fish. And so in that way, it has probably helped trophy bass fishing, right?
Yeah.
Because
have you ever read that book? Is it Sow Belly?
Sow Belly?
Belly.
Yeah, I've read that book.
I don't read
It's been
anything.
a while. It's been a while.
But they have
I've
a
read it.
picture, right, of an old picture of big bass, right?
Yeah.
They talk about it. The record was from a long time ago,
Right.
right? I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
That book, I read it. It was interesting. I mean, it was a different read, but
Look
Yeah.
at Japan in their
That's
fishing,
huge,
their
yeah.
tournaments. You can't release the fish by law, right?
Yeah, I think
You have to kill them.
Yeah, I
In
think
Japan, really?
I'm not sure if it's like all of Japan or certain bodies of water, but you know, bass is a invasive species over there.
really.
And
What do they fish freshwater? What's their big species over there?
Besides bass
So
fishing,
the bass is killing stuff.
yeah. So there's like native species of trout and other, you know, a lot of native species in both the lakes and the creeks and the river systems, and so they're eating native species. So I think in some areas you're not supposed to be releasing the bass.
And you still have the fishery over there. Do you think is a lot better than here?
Yeah, they get a lot of big
Fishery.
ones.
Yeah.
In particular areas, you know,
Yeah.
like Lake Biwa and
Have you fished biwa?
No, I've actually never bass fished in Japan.
Really?
I would love to one day, but I fished in Japan, but in all salt water.
Yeah.
I'll take him with me.
Have you fished biwa?
No, but they've invited me numerous
gotta go,
times, but
man.
I'll have to have my entourage come with me.
Yeah.
My translator. You know where I've seen lakes that have the catch and release and then they have the stunted fish after a while are private lakes.
Really?
Okay? Like I grew up at Lake Sherwood, okay?
Yeah.
But there was Westlake was next to it, and you would see over the years of my lifetime, you'd see where the fish, you couldn't get nothing under 3 pounds, and then all of a sudden you're getting 8-pounders, and then there's stunted crappie and all of this kind of stuff.
Why do you think it's the private lakes? 'Cause they're not stocking anything?
I think it's because there's more catch and release,
Okay.
and they have good fisheries because they're not pressured. So, maybe it's got to do.
Have
with
you
that.
seen people pull big bass out of the lagoon and keep them?
Oh yeah,
Really?
yeah. And I can't say anything.
No, I mean it's your legal. Yeah, I get it.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
them
I've
carry
seen it too.
10-pounders out.
Yeah.
I don't say anything.
Yeah.
They're and if they catch 5 bass and want to take them home and eat them, more power to them.
Yeah.
That's okay with me. They're not going to ruin the fishery out there and stuff like that.
That's great to hear
There's a lot
from
of fish.
you guys. I mean, it's kind of a big no-no when people flip out when they see him pull a bass.
They have the right
Yeah.
to do it. They paid for a license, and they're like if they go catch them gill netting at night and they got 50 of them in there. That's
Different story,
That's not
yeah.
cool. But these guys are they're enjoying the fish.
Have you kept one before?
I haven't kept one, and when I was younger, we used to keep a couple to come home and fry up like 2-pounders.
They're pretty good?
No, not really.
You'd rather eat saltwater fish, right?
The people I were from, they were a little oaky, so they fried up the roe and made these little crispy things out of, and it's like eating sand and fishy sand, and I was like,
grainy.
I was like, yeah, it was not good at all. So, and I grew up at Lake Sherwood, a lot, and there was, a pen there that it had bluegill and crappie and stuff, and we ate a lot of fish. And
bluegill's good though. I heard, and crappie.
Oh yeah,
right? I mean,
a lot of bone.
Yeah.
Crappie's really good.
Yeah.
But I think crappie are better bone in. You cook the carcass kind of cooking.
Okay.
I
Whole
think
fish.
I think it just tastes better that way. But and striper, I love striper.
Me too.
That
Striper's
striper I
good.
caught out of Lagoon, he's delicious, man.
Yeah.
You keep them all when you catch them?
If I catch a striper,
yeah,
my wife likes them.
I love them. They're good too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good striper fishing as well.
The only bass that I have kept, or there was one probably 10 or 12 years ago that rolled on me, and he was released quickly, but he didn't die in vain because he ended up going to a biologist, and then they did the study. And
Great.
Did I show you? I showed you the paperwork on that once.
Oh yeah, the
From
one that
Kalugi.
Steve, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then he showed me the whole growth rate of the fish.
How long did that take? The growth rate,
The fish was 10 years old and weighed 16.5.
Oh, wow.
And he said whatever fish that is, it was 10 pounds in its 5th years of growth, and it showed the growth rates per year. And then he would ask me, what was this year like? What was that summer like?
Oh, no way.
And then he had one from the Delta, and he had one from Berryessa. And the one from the Delta was 9 pounds and was, I think, 11 years old. And it only was not so slow growth.
Mm-hmm.
And the one from Berryessa was 11 pounds, and it was like 10 years old also. So he said, whatever gene is in that afterbay, or whatever gene we have, it's like, a top-notch gene.
In the lagoon.
Yeah.
Man. And then there's the F1. Is that another strain, right?
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I don't pay attention
You don't know,
to all that.
yeah.
All I know is they're Florida bass. But I shocked with Fish and Game a fish down in the lagoon one time, the last time we shocked, and it was probably 15 to 16 pounds. It was going to go to the Fred Hall show, and that fish looked every bit as big as Dottie, and it had the biggest scales and the darkest markings I'd ever seen, and something happened to it. And so it went up there to get studied with Dottie. It was around the same time.
Okay.
They said that was the oldest bass that they've ever studied.
No way.
It was 18 years old.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
That is so. How old will bass get?
I didn't think they lived over 12 or 13 years.
Have you ever caught the same bass twice?
Yes.
Because
I used to mark them.
With what?
Back in the day with a circle punch. On
Really?
the pectoral fin. That's how we.
Oh, shit.
That's how you do it when you shock with Fish and Game.
Oh, nice.
You go up a cove, like at the upper lake. I went with them, and then we'd shock 300 fish up one side, and we'd circle punch the pectoral fin. We'd come out the other side and then measure and weigh those fish and do those. Then 1 month later, we'd go back in the same cove, and we'd shock that side of the cove and shock the other side, and then they would determine the amount of fish that had the hole punch versus the amount of fish that were non-punched, and then they would determine the ratio of the influx of fresh fish in the population. So therefore, I'm spinning around, and I'm circle punching back in the HUD days my fish. And when I had the 127 over 10 that year, there was
That's a great. How many?
7 that were recaught. One was caught twice because it grows over into a pimple, a nub. There was 2 nubs, so I caught that fish twice. What year, I have no idea.
That's amazing.
And then when I had the 107 fish over 10 pounds, 11 of those were recaught. So that tells me that there was a lot of fresh fish around,
That's a good sign.
to keep track of.
Yes.
And that's what I did back then.
Do you still see those ever when you catch them?
I don't do it anymore. No,
but do you
those
see
fish
that?
have all died off.
All died off. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
they're old now. We quit doing that when the trout stocking started, and we had the die off. And now what I'm seeing at the lakes, like Paris, where he's at, where I'm at, and probably eventually in San Diego, because they cut so much of their trout stockings off, is those fish get emaciated. Because I believe, and I'm not a biologist, but he is, I think that when they're born and raised and they're stocking trout in a lake, that they know in the fall, when the temperature starts to cool down at a certain temperature, that those trout are coming, and they know where to position themselves to feed throughout the winter on those stocks. Mm-hmm. Well, once you cut that off, then they go to those same spots and nothing shows up. And then they start to slowly get thinner and thinner, and then they get to the point where they're not getting enough food, and then a handful are getting enough food. And then eventually they go for their own, the babies, the bluegill, and they decimate everything. And then they finally sort of die off. And then the lake starts to come back to life again, like Casitas.
Yes.
And it all starts to balance itself out. And what I'm seeing right now, and what I started thinking about on the water, because that's what you do when you're out there, is I'm seeing a lot of 9 to 11 pound bass right now at my lake. And then I'm thinking about, well, when those fish were probably born. Those fish were probably born after that cycle had already went over, and then there was probably a couple of good years of a good spawn, because there was not a lot of predators that were going to eat all that fry. And then therefore those fish have started to grow up, and we have a good amount of trophy bass again. And I think it's because of that one particular time where it went down the peak, and then you had the spawn, and then not a lot of predators, and then they slowly build up through the ladder, and now they're up at the top, and our lake is balanced, much more balanced, I think. And, because you got to look at, like, you don't necessarily need trout to have trophy fish. You might need it to have a world record fish, but you look at Texas, they don't have trout. But yet their state record, is like 17 pounds?
It's big, yeah.
But they get their 13s and 14s. And that's what we're leading up to, too. It's the same thing here. You don't think the trout plants, you think are going to get back to what? Not back to what it used to be, but a trophy fishery. I don't know. We've been approved for it.
Yeah.
And we have to build this fencing for it, but when it comes to that kind of stuff, we can't get answers. And Fumi would go back and forth with the biologist and then let me know the information that he got. And
so you have a lot of involvement, Fumio, on talking to some of the biologists about some of this stuff and moving forward?
Not lately, but before
Previously?
I did, when the stocking stopped, I tried to get information on why and if it was going to resume. And I tried to... I wrote letters and, went to some, Department of Fish and Game Commission meetings and that kind of stuff. But I don't want to say I kind of gave up, but I kind of just forgot about it because it wasn't going anywhere. And you're getting sort of misinformation from a lot of different people and didn't know what was what. So,
but up north, they get stocks, no problem, but I don't get it, and you just sort of got to go with the flow and adapt as you go along. And that's why I'm sort of still standing around as an old schooler. I adapt as I go with baits
I think
or
bottom
whatever
line,
I have to do.
Without the trout, the trophy fishing has gotten really tough. But not because there aren't 10-pounders around. Maybe the chance of like world record size fish is greatly diminished, But there's still 10s and teeners, at the lakes we fish.
There's got to be pressure now too. I mean, think how many guys are fishing now. How popular fishing is. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Even just doing this podcast for 2.5 years, I'm like, wow, stuff has grown so much in 2 years.
Yeah.
It sort of takes a special person to be where I'm at, They don't like having a little hot rod boat, and they got their $80,000, $100,000 boat, and
Do you still get complaints that same people saying you have a?
They get them all the time. Yeah,
That's the best story.
You should have seen when I'd throw Fumi in the back and go, "Hit it, man," and he'd be laughing, going, "Oh my God!"
That's pretty funny.
I go, "We gotta get down there now."
Let me give this guy a call, James, and see if he picks up. Let's see how this works, guys.
All right. Live.
Wow, it's ringing.
Action.
Let's see if you can hear us.
Oh,
Hi, James. This is Nick from Cast and Crank.
hey, what's up, Nick?
Hey, you're live with Butch and Fumio. You have a question for him?
Yeah, I was just about boat flipping fish. I noticed a lot of people do it, but I remember back in the day when I was fishing with my dad, and he got really annoyed when he dropped one on the deck. And about a week later, caught the same fish. You could tell by the markings and stuff, but on that side that he dropped it, it had a big bacteria growth on it and stuff. And
Ick.
I was just curious on what they thought about, how that affects the fish, their growth, whatever, how they think all that stuff kind of affects the fishery. You know what I mean?
Great. I appreciate you calling in, man. You're the first one ever. So thank you.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone's scared to talk
Yeah.
to Butch, man. You can say what's up to him.
Yeah, what's up, Butch? How's it going?
I'm good, but Fumio's got the answer for that. We just went over all that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's the biologist.
We didn't talk about the slime coat, so you can kind of
Yeah, it's probably just, when you drop a fish, especially like on a carpeted deck,
Yeah.
it removes all that protective slime layer, so then it leaves the skin open for infections, whether it's like bacteria or fungal infections. And I've seen fish like that too. I've caught fish that just looked horrible, had this like grayish, slimy covering on their body, and then it smelled really, really bad, And I assume those were fish that, that may be mishandled, just laying out on a hot deck, or it was just, somebody holding it improperly, removing all that slime. And, and I'm sure that affects it, it might die, within a certain period of time, or for sure it might affect its overall health and therefore its feeding and growth rate and all that kind of stuff. So you're probably looking at
too, if that maybe affected, that trophy fishery, because it kind of just went away somewhat, it seemed like, if those fish weren't getting
That's
that
funny.
big anymore.
We just finished talking about the trophy fishery right now.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you'll hear all about it. You're local, huh? So I'm going to give you a shirt for calling in, for being the first call-in guy.
All right.
Yeah,
right
so
on.
I know you're a
Cool.
5'6"2", so I can meet up with you somewhere. I'll message you.
Yeah, I'm local. Yeah, that stuff just always stuck with me, with my dad. And I was just, when I see people boat flipping them and stuff, like he got so angry at himself just for doing it.
Do you not boat flip at all?
No, never.
Never? Okay.
No, especially if you're, not fishing you're fishing a tournament or something, you're netting the fish, it doesn't seem, if you're not fishing.
Yeah, for fun, it's a different story. Your PB or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it just seems, unnecessary, type thing.
Yeah. Well, thanks for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man.
Actually,
Thanks.
yeah, for sure.
Take care.
Yeah, have a good one,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks.
Thanks.
Oh.
Let's see if we got any more.
Man, I advertised it every time. Call in.
I just think people are.
Yeah, people are probably.
They don't want to have their,
talking. Yeah, they're probably thinking, I don't want to seem like a cook asking a swim bait question publicly.
I don't want people to know what I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't want people to know that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I'm surprised none have asked about what the bite's going on and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I think they know by now. You still get a lot of people messaging you. What's biting? And you tell them the same thing. The depth's 250.
Yeah, I just put it on film and leave it at that, and that's it. I just put out what I put out.
What made you want to be so much more active on Instagram?
Because Ben showed me how to do it.
Good old Ben, huh?
Yeah, all of a sudden I realized how easy it was. Then I realized that I can put a catch on there.
Yeah.
And I can get 3,700 views in one night, and I can go on Facebook and get from 50 to 300.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a completely different ball game here.
I feel like it's a young man's game, the Instagram,
It is. Yeah. It is, but it reaches out to more because, I got almost 16,000 followers, and I don't sell anything. I don't do anything like that. I just fish and throw the videos on there. And for me, for depths, that, you know, because I'm on their pro staff, you know, you sort of have certain requirements, which, you know, I don't like to do the Fred Hall show that much, but
you have been lately though, right?
yeah, until last year. Well, this year it's not going to happen this year, but you know, that means that I'm putting back in, you know, what I started with, cast and catch, and they treat me really, really good. You know,
what camera are you using now?
Well, I got me that GoPro 9.
Do you like that? I've heard a lot of issues about it.
You know, it's so small, it's hard for me to use, but I like to use the old Sony
handhelds like this.
Yeah, because I can handle it and it's fine. And then I learned with the GoPro, I just keep that in the thing, and it's got the one with the screen, so you can see it.
Do you talk to it?
Well, yeah.
No, you could talk to it and say GoPro.
No, I don't have all that figured out yet. No, but I can. It's easier for me to take a photo and get it because it does the bursts. So you can hold the fish, and then push the button, and then when it starts to do the, you can just like move a little bit, and then you can get some different shots, and then you know they come out really beautiful, and then they look bigger the closer you put it. I know that because I've been seeing the guys doing it for years. You know,
you're one of them now. Huh?
I could see that, and then I use it for the final editing. Like I'll catch the fish and I get up in the camera and I start to talk. You know, cast and crank, number one, Fumio and me, and sometimes I can't really see because the sun's there and I can't really tell what it's like. And then what I do is I go. And then I before I let the fish go, I put the GoPro on and then put that on me and then hit record and then do the same thing. And then I compare the two, you know, and then use the best one. And usually the GoPro always has some phenomenal color.
Yeah. I mean, it's like 4K and stuff. It's like a big difference.
And I just loaded up on iMovie on my Mac.
There you go.
And it's simple for me. You know, I'm a brain dead kind of guy, but you know, but yeah, you know, you can teach an old dog new tricks, but it's something I had to learn.
Yeah.
If I'm going to represent, you know, somebody like Deps or something like that, you know, it's not like I have somebody in the boat that, you know, and you feel sort of geeky because he's filming you or anything. You're by yourself. You know, and if it doesn't come out right, you say it again. You know, and some things just can't come out right, and you got to stop. And you know, and
I've been there.
Fumio has his, but you know, his best video is on the bottom of the lake right now.
Really?
He never got it.
Oh, you dropped the GoPro.
I dropped the my PB is a 14.5 out of Paris, and I have that on film. I use the chest harness thing, so it's just, you know, it's not on the back of my boat, so you don't. It's just
it's all
the
you
point of view from my, you know. So I have that on film, and then I had caught a 11 the same day in the morning, so I had those two fish, and I was super stoked, and I had already taken my pictures, and I had both on film on GoPro.
Wow.
And so at the end of the day, I took the 11 to the spot where I had caught it, and I wanted to release it, right? And so I used that chest harness, and it goes on that clip. So I unclipped it, and I was holding it with my left hand by the clip, right? I'm holding it, and I grabbed the fish, and I wanted to do the release video, you know, me releasing it, and all right. I thought it's going to look cool. So I'm releasing the fish, and this fish sort of stayed at the surface, and it looked like it was going to jump, you know. So I thought, oh, this is going to look really cool. And it sort of rushed like towards the camera, and it did do a nice jump, but it almost ran into my, you know, the camera. So I pulled back, right? Well, the bottom little clip that goes on my harness hit the side of the boat, and I ended up dropping the camera.
Oh man.
And so then I reached for my net, right? So I grabbed my net and I tried to scoop it up, and I couldn't get it.
Just watch it float.
You tried to get a diver on it.
So,
did you really?
Yeah, I had a colleague who dives, so we went out there, and I had GPS the spot and everything, and he spent a good amount of time until the air on his tank ran out,
Oh my gosh,
looking
and
for the
couldn't
camera,
find it,
and he
huh?
could. It was at that time. It was like in 26 feet of water, and he looked and he looked and he looked and he couldn't find it. And then I contacted the lifeguards at Paris, and initially they were like, "Oh yeah, we can do that. They do training. It's kind of fun if we do the training, and at the same time we're looking for something. So tell us where it is." But then they never did. They never went.
So you just lost it. Now you got to catch another 14.
Yeah, exactly. Which
What
I'm
was that
working
on?
That was on a Bait Smith Magnum.
All
So
right.
so the 11 in the morning and then the 14 I caught later was same bait. Yeah.
Wow.
That was a bummer. So it's still there. That camera's still there.
That's so crappy.
And now because the lake is so high, it's probably like in like 70 feet of water
Yeah,
and completely
you're never
silted
gonna get
over.
it. Yeah. I'm sure that happens all the time. I mean, I was at Skinner and I dropped my iPhone at the dock.
Oh.
So I had my depths on there and I'm fishing it. Getting it up and I got it.
Oh, you
The hook,
got it?
yeah, the hook
Oh,
went onto
okay.
the phone. I could see it down there like 7 feet down. And I got it out. I'm like, oh, thank God.
You got what? It was a gone.
No, it was fine because it's the newer one. It was waterproof and it had the plastic case.
Nice.
So since it had the plastic case, the hook
okay.
hooked on
Good.
to the plastic
Wow,
case.
that's
and I was
pretty
like-
lucky.
I was
Oh,
happy.
wow.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a big deal.
That's a
Yeah. If you want to film catching big bass, just either run out of battery, run out of chip space, or forget to turn it on, and it will happen.
right. How
I
many
get-
times did it happen to you?
Oh, it's happened a lot. I look back and I go, "Phew, not even on.
You
Oh, my
have
God.
your biggest fish is on film though, correct? Yeah. And how big is that?
19.3.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever beat
Big
that?
one.
No,
No, you're happy with that?
I'm happy. I was happy with 17s and 18s.
Really?
Yeah, 16s, 14s. I'm happy
What's
with
the
all
lake
of it.
record?
That one.
19.3. What's the lake record for striper?
The one I caught 2 weeks ago at the After Bay. Not up top. They've got some big ones up top.
Rob
But
has
they're-
one, right?
Yeah, but they're not supposed to be in the After Bay.
Really? Yeah.
Not at all.
How big was that?
20, little over 20, 20 and a quarter.
Gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a
That's big.
fluke.
Yeah.
Right where we
Yeah.
bass fish.
Hey, were you thinking it was the one?
No, because it had that lope like a white sea bass.
Okay.
You could, or a yellowtail. It
Yeah.
had that lope, and I'm thinking, God dang it, I snagged a carp.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, no, it can't be a carp because I felt the bait go crunch. I felt it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like I swooped up the side of something and stuck it. Then I'm thinking, it's got to be a catfish. And then it came up and surfaced with the fins out, and I saw the lines, and I'm like, oh, my God. I got to get this one. It barely fit in the net,
Oh, I bet, man. That's
But,
huge.
but yeah,
Yeah.
But like speaking of nets,
Dinner.
they've all switched them now to the rubberized coating, which makes it heavier, and it doesn't go through the water as good. And I think for two people, it's a good net to have in the boat. But for a single guy, I've talked to Promar, but it was prior COVID, and we were talking about maybe making a single man swim bait kind of net, and that just sort of got all screwed up with the COVID situation. But
Is that the kind of net you use right now? It's Promar? Okay.
when I learned that they were going to quit making my net, and they were hard to find, I knew certain tackle shops that had them, and I went around and bought every one I could find.
Just like you did with the HUD, right?
HUDs,
Yep.
yeah.
When you first found it.
And then I found I punched in the same number as my net, and I saw them on Amazon. So I got a handful of them there, and then when they got delivered, they were the rubberized ones. So I realized they're using the same number. So I got 6 or 7 of them as spares.
Should last you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because to me, I would rather. I like using the fine mesh and not the old nylon kind, because the nylon's stiff and everything. But you know what? If you hook a big one and it gets in the net and it's all tangled up and stuff, and you got to cut it out with scissors, at least you're holding a 15-pound bass. What's the big deal?
Oh, of
You know?
course.
And there's always zip ties, and you can
Right.
zip tie it again until it finally gets to the point where you just got to replace it.
Yeah.
But it's a lucky net,
Yeah.
and it's when I go fishing in the morning before I even set up, man, I dip that net in the water and I get it all wet, nice and juicy, and I lay it right where it's supposed to be.
That's a good thing to do.
And that's good luck.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's your good luck charm?
I have good luck. And we smudge.
Is that part of your ritual in the morning when you walk
Yes.
in? You dip the net, put it on the deck, and go.
And I make a short cast.
Short cast. How many times have you got hit on that short cast?
Never, because I make sure I'm not going to get hit. I
Okay.
throw it in deep open water, because if you catch a fish your first cast,
You're one of those.
you probably won't
You're
get
scared.
bit the
You're
rest
done.
of the day.
Yeah.
It's sort of like being the first guy on the tuna boat,
Yeah.
and you get in the water and you got the first tuna on deck before daylight, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to whoop them today.
Yeah, that's your
And all of a
last
sudden
fish.
you're just watching people connected, man.
Speaking of tuna deck, I think what we're going to do for our next charter, I'm going to have Butch and Fumio on. So they'll be the guest on this one, and we're going to go do something cool. Maybe we'll see. End of March, hopefully, if you guys can lock down a date. I'll figure out a boat. It'll be a fun time. I think Matt Pano said he'd want to come too.
Matt likes that.
So, yeah,
cool.
so I think it'll be you three coming on there, and everyone can come hang out and fish with us.
Yeah,
So that'll be a fun charter.
we will.
This will come out March 1st, I think. March 1st? I think so.
Okay.
Let's talk about anything you guys want to plug. Fumio or Butch. Just depths.
We like catching bottom fish.
right?
Yeah, we were talking about that
You
the
love
other
rockfish,
day.
huh?
He likes
Rockfish.
rockfish.
Yeah,
I like rockfish.
I like
Yeah.
rockfish. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always game.
Yeah, so we could do that. Even go do a cool rock fishing trip. Get some good fish tacos.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the good
Reds
thing
and links.
about going fishing on a boat like that is you can't lie about what you caught, because you had 20 other guys that already know what you caught.
Exactly. Right.
You know, and Fumio, he goes out and he catches those big swordfish,
Yeah.
and he's caught. What, you get a 300-pounder on the spinning rod with the popper?
Are you
The
serious?
blue-
No,
Bluefin?
it wasn't that big. But I've caught one,
Who did you go swordfish with?
Brandon
Hayward?
Hayward.
Oh, no way.
Well, I've caught one with Brandon, and then I tag team another one with Wes.
Oh, Wes is great.
So we
He's a good
fished-
swim bait.
Yeah.
He's a good, yeah.
Yeah, I
Wes
fished
is a
with
great
Brandon
guy.
and Wes
Yeah.
quite a bit. And,
Great.
And I caught a super with Wes. That was on a flying fish.
Really?
Spinning rod. I've caught a one, like a 144 on a popper. Not
great.
yeah. That's so.
That's a spinning rod.
Yeah, spinning rod. Spinning
right.
rod, man. Popper.
You're about it, huh?
It's fun. Like the stuff going on last few years,
It's been great,
whether
right?
it's sea bass, tuna, or the swordfish stuff. It's like, things you've never
That
heard of
swordfish
before.
stuff's crazy. I've had a
It's
couple guys on
crazy.
talk about it. Say it's just like a big catfish almost. Like you're looking for that rod to just,
Yeah.
to bite.
Mhm.
It's,
Yeah,
He
it's
tells
pretty
me
subtle.
how deep they go and what they fish, and I'm just like, he's trying to
deep.
talk me into
you
going
using
about 2
electrical
months
reel?
ago.
or did you use it?
The first time, no, we didn't have electric
You
stuff
just
yet.
give it to Wes and say,
And
you
then-
reeled up, Wes. I'm not doing it.
The second time with Wes, we had an electric.
Oh, okay.
One was electric and one wasn't.
Okay.
And then now Brandon has either electric reels or he has this power drill.
Oh, I
for the
seen that.
non-elec-
I
So
seen that,
so
yes.
now it's much easier.
Yeah.
But
Those Daiwa ones are nice. Those,
yeah.
Those, yeah.
and I think Brandon uses the Shimano. I don't know the name, but the first trip it was all kind of manual, and basically you have to like switch off with a buddy just reeling in the
I
rig.
can't imagine your shoulders just done.
Yeah.
Told me, and I'm just like,
Yeah. But now,
I'm good.
now it's they have it down where it's a lot easier on the anglers. So, easier to bring the rig up and even deploying everything. It's very technical. I dig it because it's not just dropping down and waiting, but like to deploy it correctly, it's very, very
On the
technical.
spot,
How you put the bait out first, and then you clip on the sinker. You have a rod with a buoy rig on. You got, all that's super technical. The rigging's technical, and then once you get bit too, the stuff you do to tease it, get it to
right.
bite, drop it down, tease it again. It's to me, it's very interesting. I kind of like the technical.
I've
aspect.
I've had Brandon, I've had Wes, and I've had Bill DePriest
Yeah.
on. They've all caught big swordfish.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
I'm super interested in it as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. I know people want to know your rigs, so we'll kind of say what you throw for, say, the depths 250. Fumio, and then we'll go to Butch because I know people have asked that question a couple times.
Oh,
so like line, reel, rod.
So I'm using depth rods. For my slide swimmer 250. I'm using the
Sidewinder.
The Sidewinder. The Dom Driver is the name of the rod. I think Butch is using the same one too. Although Butch has a custom version with cork grips. I use the
EVA.
Yeah, the regular foam grip kind of stuff. So that's my main rod. For rubber baits, I've used the Loomis 957. Butch has used that too.
You can't get that anymore, right?
Can you get that? You can't get that. Yeah. So.
And what about reels?
Reels. Before I go to reels, so the rod I'm using now for the rubber baits, I'm using the Ritual angling, like the WBE 800. I forget if it's XH or H.
You can't get that anymore either.
I think that was like a special production line they had for like a Fred Haas show. And I only have one, so, but I've used like Dobbins rods in the past too. Reel wise, like Butch, I often use a Shimano Calcutta 400. But I'm also using a lot of the Daiwa reels now too, the Lexus,
Have you
Lexa
tried the
300.
300 yet?
I just bought one like a month ago.
I want to know how that is.
300. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it does cast a little better because of that T-wing system
I love
thing.
the T-wing, yeah.
I really like reels, especially during the wintertime. That's lower gear ratio, so I'm not using those reels as much. I'm going back to the Shimano Calcutta 400 or some of the older Daiwa Millionaires that have like a 5-to-1 gear ratio. But during the summertime, I've been fishing the Lexus 300s and stuff. I've used Shimano reels too. I like them all. I've been using more the Daiwa just because their headquarters is so close. Like I can drop it off. It's in Cerritos.
That's right by your school.
Yeah, it's right by work, so I can take it there, have it serviced. And so just out of convenience, they're great reels and very convenient. So I've been using more of the Daiwa stuff. But in the past, I used a lot of Shimano reels too, and they're great too.
Yeah.
Line, same with Butch, the Abrasics, and hooks too. I swap out the hooks on the Depth 250, the bronze gammy hooks. Although last summer, I experimented a little bit with some of the twin hook stuff, but using both right now. I guess that's my gear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Butch.
Pretty close to the same, except I stick with the Calcutta 400.
All your reels are Calcutta 400?
Yep.
Wow.
They all feel the same in my hand.
Are they TEs or just the 400s?
No, the 400s. I had problems with the TEs.
Really?
Yeah, I'd blow through them every 6 months. The 400s, they're a workhorse.
Are you changing out the handle on them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got nice handles on them, and I bend and crack handles, but I got those carbon fiber kind, they're pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then same, I fished the Sidewinder from Depths, and I also fished my 957s, the Seagar Brazex, 20-pound. I never much go over that, but we have the new rod from Depths for the super big swim baits.
The Strong Mind.
Okay.
And that I just got a spool of 25-pound.
Nice.
Because the baits are much bigger. They're like that.
Huge.
So,
yeah.
And that's something to play with, But I like the wider spools because when I make those long casts, my spool isn't, super small. I still got line on there, and I've used the reel so much in my life, it's like getting into a car you've had 10 years. You know everything about it. You don't even have to look at it, and it just, everything is smooth. And I've tried other reels just to try them that might have a taller spool or, they might be the latest and greatest, but the Calcutta is so smooth, no matter what bait you have on it, that I've had reels where I'm throwing a wake bait, and every time that bait turns, I can feel it sort of bind up. You feel something odd. It's not smooth, and so that's gone, and so I stick with that. and you know, it just works. It's a workhorse. You know,
if it isn't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, my tuna stuff, I've got upgraded on that a bit, you know, but I still fish my internationals and stuff like that. And he let me try his Akuma, which is a nice reel, you know.
Which one do you have?
I have the like the Makairas, the big ones, like the
nice.
20 and the 50s that I've been using for the local, you know, big bluefin and stuff, fishing the jigs. Yeah,
you know. But,
you liked that one, huh?
Oh yeah, that's a nice reel. Yeah. But you know like my pens, you know, all my 50 wides and 80s and 50s and 30s, you know, they've been out there a lot of days for 20 something years, and I don't have problems with them because, you know, I take them to Cal Sheets, and then he goes through them and blueprints them and upgrades everything. So they have free or take it to Taka's, and I have he gets that thing spinning like no other. And, you know, I need dependability when I'm out there, you know, like, you know, it's like a guy walking the shore at night. If you got a reel that's going to break down on you, well, you got to walk home, man. You need something that's going to be durable and hangs in there. And, you know, Matt Pano is bringing in the line of depths rods now. So it'll be the first time they're ever sold in the United States.
That's going to be great.
That's going to be a big deal for
We'll be talking about that because he'll be right behind you on the episodes.
Yeah, you'll be right in there, and it's a question you need to ask
him.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
That's
because
cool.
he knows all that stuff.
Oh, he's got a great story too, Matt. So this will be great. Thanks again, Butch, for coming on. Thank you, Fumio, for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for all the support, Butch. Greatly appreciate it over the last
Not a problem.
year, man.
Can I show your viewers the newest color that's going to be coming out on the Depths 250?
Yeah.
Maybe you can hold it up to the camera a little closer. But that's the new American shad that be coming out in a couple of months. They're in the process of finalizing it, and that's going to be the new one.
That's nice, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You can almost catch white sea bass and yellowtail on that one. You will on that one.
Yeah.
It's weighted for you.
Oh, I can't wait. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not one of those slow sinkers. I know you, so.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on. Now we're going to eat some.
Thank you.
I got to
very
finish
much.
this tri-tip up and we'll have some.
Sweet.